starting around 5-6 years after Western Digital. So you must know that in factories, when your low tech factory is just like canned food. Okay, canned food, ayam brand, for example, okay. When I was young, there's only ayam brand. Ayam brand sardine. Okay, that means when I was in primary school, ayam brand sardine. Till now is ayam brand sardine. Okay. These people don't need to change 40-50 years, they can make the same product and still survive. In hard disks, in 3 months, you don't change your product, you're dead, you're totally dead. Because we need to keep on increasing the capacity of the hard disk. So, for example, if Western Digital got, okay, for example, I give you an example, how IBM died. IBM died in the transition between 80 gigs per disk to 120 gigs per disk. All other companies were able to do it, but IBM were not able to do it. They invented the hard disk, but they failed to do it. And what's happening? You go to the supermarket, I don't know where you buy, in Delta Mall, you go and buy a hard disk. IBM, 80 gig, 250 or something like that. Western Digital, 120 gig, 250, same price. Who's going to buy the IBM? So IBM died immediately. Okay, so in high tech, if you don't meet your research target, you can die immediately, okay, within months. That's what happened to IBM. Cars is very slow. You can make proton pretty much for years and still people want to buy, okay. But canned food is the best. In fact, I talk about all this, but in the video that I sent you, and there was a guy called Kevin Tompkins. He was a American who go all over Southeast Asia. He was a Vietnam vet, so he ended up in Southeast Asia, but he decided to stay back and help factories. So any factory that's going down, he will join the factory and bring it up. Okay, so he taught me a lot about discipline, how to discipline the workers. And in Western Digital, 1 minute late is 1 letter. Okay, so I mean, initially I didn't do it because I was the most friendly engineer to the workers, so I didn't follow that discipline. But eventually, this white man got me. Said, you can be friendly to workers, but you got to set the rules. Okay, 1 minute late, 1 minute late. Because if you let go 1 minute, you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes become 5 minutes. 5 minutes become half an hour. Half an hour become 2 hours. Okay, so and then your factory cannot run because your workers are not around. Okay, so he was very friendly to all the workers, but discipline is discipline. Okay, so the workers like him so much. They used to go and see him. They buy a 6-pack of beer and put on his. He has the biggest office in the factory. Put on his table and start talking to him. Okay, so in high-tech factories, you need a discipline, and then you cannot treat people like the slaves in ancient Rome. Okay, because you see, I went for the interview with XFAB. That time it was not called XFAB yet. XFAB is a German company that's making the chips in Kuching, mostly for automotive. Okay, so the interviewer was one of the very top guy in XFAB. Okay, and then he told me that if someone go for lunch and somehow bring back 1 grain of salt, 1 tiny grain of salt, and he's angry with the boss, they're going to throw it into one of the chemicals, the whole XFAB production is gone. So there's no way you can treat people like slave if the worker can really sabotage your operation with just 1 grain of salt. Okay, so later, anyway, Western Digital engineers treated workers like slaves. I mean, pretty much not very friendly. Like they were not friendly at all. And that's why Western Digital died. Okay, basically what happened is the workers started a union, and they went to KL. A small group of them went to KL and started a union. Immediately, the big boss from US flew down to find out what's going on, and then he gave us a talk. Us means the management team, all of us with degrees, about 200 of us. He said, "You are the problem, not the workers. I give you 1 month to solve this. If you don't solve it, I'm closing down the factory." So half month later, I asked the guy, the engineer sitting next to me. He is much higher than me, like he's probably double my salary. So I asked him, "Hey, Chai, I thought the white man told us to make friends with workers. Why no activity?" And Chai said, "They can try. They can try means the Americans can try to shut us down, but they won't succeed." He was very sure of that. And they didn't do any activity. They were also arrogant. They didn't do any activity to make friends with workers. So 1 month later, we were all asked to go to the canteen. We had a huge canteen. The whole factory had to go there. Workers, engineers, everyone. And then broadcast direct from US, the big boss giving a speech. "We are shutting you down." Okay, so that's why I was retrenched. There are 2,500 of us. They kept about 300 people in there just to clean up the factory before total shutdown, and we were all retrenched. And that was a huge loss to Sarawak, okay, because Western Digital hired 2,500 workers and paid them a huge amount of money. I mean, even the lowest level technician had a Myvi, They don't even Canary or, the Viva those days are too low standard for them. They want Myvi, okay? So even the lowest technician had a Myvi. Because their salary might not be so high. I know one guy whose salary is just about 1,000, but his take-home pay is 6,000. I mean, he's crazy lah. He is non-stop OT because we got our shift is now it's standard in the high-tech factories. 4 days on, 3 days off. Next week is 3 days work and 4 days off. Okay, so this crazy guy who has 6,000 salary with 1,000 basic, he works OT every day. And one time he took a break and then he came to my office. Wow, sakit badan. Sakit badan because he took off. Okay, he cannot stand off. He's already addicted to work. Okay, so that's why the salary is so high. That's why when the factory shut down, it's a huge loss to Sarawak. Okay? And it's all because the managers were very proud. Managers means engineers and above, like anyone with a degree, were very proud and show off to the workers. I mean, so the workers didn't like it. We were quite good friends. When we started, we were all good friends, all working together. And then towards 14 years, the engineers got very high salary, so they feel they are superior people. I think so lah. I mean, I told you that's the worker getting 6,000, the engineers are getting crazy amount of money, especially the high level ones lah. Okay. So they feel, I don't know, it gets into their head, they feel they're like superior people, they get money. So they became very proud and distance themselves from the worker. And then when we have an interview, it's actually one kilometer long, the queue, going out of factory 1 kilometer. So the engineers talk to the workers like this. You don't want to do like what I say. I fire you. I get a new guy. They train on workers like that. Actually, if you do a proper calculation, it's very expensive to fire a worker and get a new one. Even though workers might have problems, sometimes, like I say, take a lot of extra leave, emergency leave, all this, and then other bad attitudes sometimes, it's better to correct them, talk to them and correct them rather than get a new guy or girl or whatever. but it is. I think all of you and was in my safety class. From the class, I told you how expensive it is to get a replacement worker. Okay, because replacement worker never can do the work of a senior worker, and of course crashes of the machine. And when you crash the machine, it's terribly expensive. I think I showed you in the safety class that just one replacement over one shift, that means either 3 days or 4 days, can cost about 11,000 ringgit. Okay, so it's terribly expensive to fire. If you go online also on Google, they'll tell you it's terribly expensive to fire someone. Okay, you count all the training costs of the new person, the mistakes they make in the production. You count all that. It's far better to somehow correct the person who is wrong than to hire a new guy. Okay, so this was a mistake of the engineers. I seen them myself, threatening all the workers. No, don't want. I fire you. I get a new guy. It's a very wrong method. The workers will sabotage for one thing. Okay, sabotage the production. Ours not as easy to sabotage as a neighbor factory, but it's simple as sabotage. You just put some sand in one of the chemical drums, and the chemicals will start pouring out sand or production. It can happen, or maybe even put some oil, minyak hitam, and go and put in one of the chemicals. That's it, okay. The whole production will be gone. So it's a different attitude when you're talking about high tech. Okay? You cannot treat people like slaves. Okay, so we were shut down, and then they kept 300 people in the factory just to clear things up, and then Hitachi, which also has a section making hard disks, they bought over the Kuching factory due to some political forces. So Hitachi bought the Kuching factory, and then Hitachi was running the factory for some time, and then what happened is Western Digital bought the whole Hitachi disk making section. So Western Digital came from almost bankrupt in year 2000 to right now it's world number 1 in hard disk by far. Okay, most of the others died because they automated too much. Okay, you might be thinking, hey, automation good, A lot of people thinking like that. Automation good. It's not good for high tech. Okay, you see. Okay, so we have okay. So we have machines like this, and then the research department, our research was quite a heavy amount of our research was done in Kuching. The head of our research was a lady, Ting Ching Ching. Okay, so she'll go to maybe machine number 3 here, and then change some chemicals. Okay, and then she go to the end of the line and see if her change in chemicals can make a difference in the quality of the disk. Okay, and you see, if you have a fully automated line, how do you do this? Because they're all automated. You want a small change in chemical, or maybe even pressure, no change in chemical, just increase the pressure of a chemical. You're going to shut down the whole line. And in what happened in what happened in Japan, because Mitsubishi, there were 20 different factories making hard disks. Okay, Mitsubishi, Samsung, they were all making hard disks. I heard in Japan, you put aluminum one side, the other side come out hard disks, fully automated. Okay, but how do you do research? You have 50 machines here. You want to try to change the pressure level only. Don't say, I mean, Ting sometimes change chemicals now. Okay? And even the hardware she changed. She requests people like me, hardware engineers, to make some changes. But mostly she changes chemicals. Okay, so she want to change maybe the pressure of chemical in this place. But there are 50 machines here. They all jointed up because of automation. So what have to do? What she has to do? She got to request for shutting down 50 machines. You have to go to CEO in USA, and USA have to come back approval or not. That might take another, I don't know. It depends. It might even take 2 weeks. By that time, research is delayed already. How she do? She just go here. There's a human there. Ask the human to stack up products, and she try to change the chemical, and then go herself at the end there and check the quality of the test. She don't even tell anybody, not even her own boss. Okay, so that's why the Kuching research is far superior. We have a sister factory in Johor doing exactly what you're doing, but theirs is automated. And I have the statistics of the Johor research versus Kuching research. Kuching was far more. Of course, how do they do research in Johor? They got to shut down the whole line before they can make any changes. But you know what? Johor and Kuching have a research line. So big factories like Mitsubishi, Samsung, say, hey, we got a research line. A researcher can do research on research line. One whole row of machine, 50 machines, just for research. No researcher want to do on research line. You know why? For some reason, when you start up a line, it takes sometimes 12 to 18 hours for the yield to get back. Okay, so when you start up a line, okay, when you start a new line, for some reason, wait a minute, how come I have 10 people now? Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 9, okay, including me 10, okay. Okay, so when you start a line, the yield is 66%, okay? For some reason, I always hear that number. It's a standard, around, not 60, but just like 66. I always hear that number. And then later only, it shoots up to 98%. After 12 hours, sometimes 16 hours, okay? So this researcher, Ting, she want to go and change the chemical here, just flow rate only. She got to wait 16 hours sometimes, just for this research line to stabilize. They only can make that change. Yeah. And then she knows that all research line cannot go to production. She knows she's wasting a lot of material, okay? Because 16 hours of production cannot be used. And after it's already 98% also cannot use. They never put research products into the production line. They never sell to the customer. So she knows in the back of her mind, I can do research. The company already allocated money for us to do research, even though it's such a waste. 16 hours totally cannot use. And then even after that also, we cannot sell to customer. So of course, she also concerned global warming, all these things. So she just go to production line. Yeah, production line is always 98%. Little change she makes, you see what is the yield at the end herself. Don't have to tell anybody. Okay, no need to tell her boss in Kuching. Whereas in Japan, you have to tell CEO. Say in Kuching, if we are fully automated, you want to do one small research, you have to go to US and come back before you get approval. Okay, so that's why in high tech, it's better to have machines with buffers in between. Okay, to enable research. Okay, nobody wants to use a research line. Okay, so the research department is Ting Ching. She is a physics graduate from USM. But she's head of research from banyak wang ya. Really rich lah. I can't imagine what's her salary, but way above mine lah. But she's definitely by far a millionaire. Okay. A teen girl, very short girl, very teen girl. She told me she was a poor Fuchao. And because I think her father left the family, or I don't know what, there's no father, just a mother brought up the family. And then she said from age until age 8, she ate only plain porridge. Cannot even afford whatever additive you add in the porridge, like candies or whatever, she cannot afford. Okay, just plain white porridge. Maybe that explains her small size. Okay, but she became very smart, head of research. Okay, and then so I noticed that most of her team, research team, were more chemical engineers. She herself was physics graduate, but her team were mostly chemical engineers. Because to make changes in hard disks, it's mostly playing around with chemicals. Okay. Okay, so so the question I will ask you in your exam is how we went wrong, how Western Digital went wrong. Okay, how the bosses became very arrogant and were not friendly to the workers, and that caused the grudge, and the US had to close us down. Why he had to close us? The US had to close us down. You see, US, the western part of US, like California, all this, especially Silicon Valley, where Western Digital is based, never had a union. Okay, so if Kuching demanded a union or start a union, at that time Western Digital had 50,000 workers. Kuching only 2,500. Okay, so the rest of 50,000 workers will request for a union, and I will end up in Silicon Valley. What will happen? Silicon Valley never had a union. So the customers are like Dell, HP, and Acer, and basically every computer maker buy hard disks from Western Digital. Okay, they'll say, why you bring union here? We never had union here. We don't buy from you anymore. We give all the orders to Seagate. Okay, ask Seagate to start new factories. Okay, so what happened? The whole Western Digital will die. That's why the big boss flew down himself here. Okay, he knew the unions is very dangerous for the livelihood of the whole company. Okay, so that's why he shut down Kuching. So what happened is Western Digital later became very rich. Is right now the largest hard disk maker in the world. Samsung and Mitsubishi all died because they automated their lines. Samsung for another reason. Samsung, I read the CEO's speech of Samsung. Samsung CEO said, hard disk is dead. We're going for this pen drives. You know, pen drive, solid state, disk, pen drive, SSD. So the future is SSD. Because you see, in hard disk, I don't have my disk here. You know, it's like a head on top of a disk. Okay, a head on top of a disk. So if you shake your laptop, okay, so Samsung can easily see that most people are buying laptops and desktop. Only gamers are buying desktop. So laptops you have to move, right? And sometimes I don't move, but a lot of people move. I sakit hati when I see some people move their laptop because I know how it works. You see, I have here my laptop that I bought for my PhD. It's still running. It's running right now. Okay, that is how many years is that? 14 years old, you know. 14 years old laptop still running. Okay, why? Because I never shake my laptop. If you know how it runs, you see, you got a head flying over a disk. You will never shake it. Of course, you shake it. Of course, you get damaged. I see some lecturers in my building 6 or so, they carry a laptop, still on, carrying a laptop. Wow. So I mean, if you know how it works, you won't do that. You can do that to your phone because a phone is solid state, right? So Samsung CEO said, hey, everyone is going for this, you know, solid state. So that's the end of hard disk. Hard disk is going to die. The whole hard disk technology is going to die. I remember I commented to his speech in one of the business time, and a lot of people liked my comment because I said that, okay, you say hard disk is going to die because people are going for solid state, but people are not keeping their data in their device anymore. In America, I have a brother who is a US citizen. He doesn't keep anything on his device. His laptop also nothing. Everything is in the cloud. And what a cloud? Cloud is 100% hard disk because it's too expensive to buy this kind. I mean, the solid state drives for clouds. Okay, and the solid state drives, they damage very fast. Okay, one whole section will suddenly die. It's connected in series, I think. One whole section will die. Okay, so that's why clouds are 100% hard disk because they're so much cheaper. If you talk about gigs per dollars per gigs, huh? I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, solid state is so far up and hard disk is so far down. I mean, it's ridiculous, the price. Okay, so cloud will never use hard disk. And then you see, I told you hard disk can only fail if you shake it, right? In cloud centers, the data centers, they never shake. They keep it in perfect condition, cool, aircon, cool, never shake. It will last pretty much forever. I would be surprised some of the cloud hard disks are from ancient times, still running. When you run a big organization like that, you never throw away something that's still working. Like my professor used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so very old hard disk from 1980s. If it still works, why not leave it in the cloud? It still works because they keep it in so perfect condition. Unless they want more space, more space, then they'll take it out. Okay, because those hard disks are too low in capacity. Okay, but if you keep it in perfect condition, hard disk will last forever because the hard disks are just flipping magnets. Okay, so it can practically last forever. Okay, because there's no damage at all. But the solid state drives are basically transistors, and you're firing electron in the base and the collector emitter. Okay, you're firing electrons, and you're just like shooting bullets. You're shooting bullets on a structure. Obviously, eventually it'll fail. Okay, so that's why all clouds are 100% hard disk. So this is one thing that Samsung leader didn't foresee. People are not going to keep a lot of data in their own desktop or laptop. Okay, they're going to keep it all in the cloud. Okay, so that caused Samsung make a bit loss lah. I mean, Samsung is a giant company lah. They're into everything now, but they made that mistake lah. They were doing quite well. They got out of this just because they predict that hard disk will die. So some of them predict that hard disk will die. Others automated too much. Okay, so they cannot do enough research. Like the Taiwan one was quite well automated, and then they cannot achieve the research to get to the next level. So they died. Yeah, so in the end, right now, in the hard disk industry, is just 3 players only. Okay, WD, okay, so only 3 players. Okay, so you can see let me show you what is the actual value now. So this is Western Digital wiki. What is the value? Okay, it's wow. And what is this? It decreased a bit. So it's a revenue of 16 billion. Seagate, no, Western Digital, 16 billion. 17 lah. Okay, make it 17. What does he get? Okay, Seagate is 10 and 11. Okay. So okay, so this is the status now. Western Digital, which is supposedly dead in year 2000, is now by far the biggest hard disk maker. Seagate is only 11 billion. But Toshiba, you cannot compare because Toshiba make other stuff. These two companies only make hard disks. Plus a few accessories like WD now also make SSD. You know, the pen drive, what brand is it? It's my own brand. So I was from there, I buy it as well. Scandis. Yes, Scandis. Scandis. Okay. That's owned by Western Digital. Okay. So they bought the Scandis because they knew that a lot of people are going for dual hard disk plus SSD. So they bought Scandis company. So all the pen drive by Scandis actually Western Digital. Okay. So you see, big mistakes are made by people that cause big companies to die. Why IBM died? Okay, IBM, no, the metal, the disk is actually metal. Okay, metal. There's a lot of technology in metal because I think you've seen some, some National Geographic about Japanese making samurai. A lot of metallurgy technology in making knives since ancient times, right? So people know a lot about metallurgy. So to modify metal to get more and more data on the disk, people know this a bit more. But glass is a relatively new material. So what IBM did, they said, hey, everyone is going for a laptop now, and the head is flying over the disk, right? And if the laptop, if they shake it, it will drop. The head will drop on this. But drop on glass, you just make one dot. You drop on metal, it's just like throwing a stone in a lake. It has ripples. So a lot of data is gone. So IBM decided to go for glass, 100% glass for all their hard disks. They actually closed down. They closed down all their metal factories and went straight away to glass. They died. Okay? Because that's the time when the hard disk was 80 gig. They want to go to 120 gig with glass, they cannot achieve. Okay, so that's a big mistake they made. Okay, so you see, communist leaders and research people can make one big mistake, the whole factory will go down. I guess we are just like in a war. Sometimes you see World War II stories. They make one decision here, make one decision there, and then this country win, that country win. When you're in the high-tech industry, you're in a continuous war. It's not like you're working for a government, lepa-lepa still can do, okay? But when you're working in a high-tech industry, it's like a continuous war. The small decisions you make, even the small worker, one small worker in your factory make a wrong decision, or correct decision will determine whether you win the war or lose the war. So Western Digital have been winning the war. They lost the war, almost totally died in year 2000, but they came back very strong. So when they moved to KL, the whole world they shut down, leaving only KL factory. They were very shrewd. Okay, I remember I buy a small batch of screws, maybe 6 ringgit of screws. My boss asked me to write a justification. How can this screw from 6 ringgit can become 12 ringgit after 1 year? Okay, you have to think to that level. Okay, so that is really shrewd thinking, and that's how Western Digital survived. Okay, basically like a war, seriously. Okay, we continuously improved, and I remember one time we were in a meeting, and then the cost per disk, one disk, the cost per disk went down by 0.02 cents, or maybe even less than that. Wow, big clap in the whole meeting. We can bring down the disk by 0.02 cents. Okay, per disk. Okay, so it's that level. Okay, when you're working in high tech. It's very, it takes all your energy that you learn in your university. Of course, not all the maths lah. Nobody uses maths at work, but all your others, especially chemistry, physics, chemistry, automation, all this, that whatever you learn, you have to use much more than what you learn in your work in high tech. Okay, but I never seen anyone use maths at work. Okay, other than Excel. Okay, Excel very important in high tech factory. Excel is the most important thing. Okay, I see a lot of engineers. I would consider them Excel engineers because all they do is Excel. Day in, they come to work, they open up the Excel until they go back. They're doing Excel. Okay, so some people become super expert in Excel. So when we were retrenched, those experts in Excel cannot find work. Other than high tech, nobody needs Excel. Okay, so that's the issue. If you work in high tech, your skill is not very well accepted in other fields. So that's why I was a hardware engineer. I'm carrying spanners in the factory. A bit more easy for my skill set to find work outside when we were retrenched. Okay, because I was always a hardware guy. And there are about 20 of us who are hardware people. That means we repair the machines, make improvement to the machines, hardware side. There are other engineers who are just Excel engineers, and then others like research engineers. Research engineers and hardware engineers, research engineers and Excel engineers, I think quite hard to find a job outside the high-tech sector. Okay. So if you're planning to leave the high-tech, you better choose something that is applicable outside. You see, like maintenance, building maintenance of a factory. That one, anyone can hire you because you're doing building maintenance. You're doing hardware side of the machines. People can hire you. Okay, but when you do Excel and research, okay, like you are very sure your factory will never close down. Stick to that. Okay. Why they need Excel? Because they do a lot of statistics. From the statistics, we can decipher some information, like certain input products are being used a lot more than normal. Okay, so this chemical is like that, and suddenly it's like that. What happened there? Why? Or maybe like that, and then suddenly go up. Why? This Excel engineers will detect that one, and go and call the guy who is dealing with that chemical. Okay, do you do anything wrong? Anything different? Or is there a leakage somewhere? Okay, there's once a big leakage in the pipes. Okay, and then that was our most expensive chemical. We call it liquid gold because the price is so high. Okay, it's a white color gold. We call it white liquid gold. So it leaked for 2 weeks. We cannot trace the problem. Okay, but we know it leaked because of the Excel. Okay, so after 2 weeks, we found the leakage. So the best thing now You see, cutting pipes, if you cut any pipe in a high-tech factory, the managers will get a heartache. You cut my pipe because our chemicals are so pure. You cut a pipe, when you cut with a saw, contamination. Okay, no matter what, there will be contamination in your chemicals. Okay, and this contamination can last a long time. I'm talking about sometimes days, just because someone cut a pipe. Okay, so days of product are not good. A few days of product not good because someone cut a pipe. Okay, because chemicals are extremely pure. It was not so pure when I joined in 1995, 2 years before you were born, right? 2 or 3 years. But by the time I left, 14 years later, everything's so pure. So cutting a pipe is not an option. And you see, to that problem I told you just now of detecting the loss of one chemical, which is super expensive, it took 2 weeks. If we want to put flow sensors all over the production so we can detect this, you have to cut the pipes. Okay, but there's a new thing that was invented now. It's very famous already. I'll show you. Okay. Okay, this is a new sensor. Okay. Climb-on sensor from Kian. It's a Japanese company which is very famous in high-tech industry because they make very fine stuff that lasts long. Okay. High-end stuff. And high-tech factory only need high-end stuff. They don't want to look at ala and stuff. Okay. So you see this one, you just put it on a pipe. It can detect your flow. This is a great innovation because you don't have to cut a pipe. So you can one day put one point on a pipe, next day another point on a pipe. Okay, so an incredible invention. When I left WD, they were working on days. At that time, it was like 24,000. I don't know what's the price now, okay, but it is definitely much lower than that. So this is incredible innovation for all industries, factories, all factories, high tech, definitely a lot of chemicals, oil and gas, a lot of flow sensors in oil and gas. They go for this, save you a lot. You see, the problem with the previous flow sensor is you cut a pipe and put a propeller inside there. Okay, a propeller so that the fluid, the liquid will turn the propeller, and on the propeller there's some magnet, and then on outside of the pipe you put a magnet sensor so you can detect the flow. But the problem is, by the time I left, our pH Okay. By the time I left, the pH is like that. pH like that. pH like that. There's no mechanical device that can survive in that pH. Okay, your propellers are made of metal, finish. I mean, there are stainless steel materials, but you got motors and stuff like that. It just doesn't work well. Propellers doesn't work well at such pH. You got bearings. You need bearings in good propellers. Bearings will get damaged. Okay, so this ultrasonic sensor is a super big innovation. Okay, I think that itself should be one of your topics for your exam. How ultrasonic sensors have changed industry. Okay, let me write down my diary here for your exam. How ultrasonic sensors not only for high tech. High tech, you're talking about pH 1 or pH 14. In oil and gas, you got a lot of dirt. You know, the oil coming from the sea is very dirty, and the dirt will damage all those propeller sensors. Okay. One of your senior, what's his name? I forgot his name. It's a Ivan guy from Cebu. But he's working in oil and gas now. And he told me something new. The gas and oil from offshore is actually cold. His company is making heaters to heat them up. I didn't know that. Okay. Heaters as big as a house to heat up the gas and oil. His company is just doing that. Okay. Oh, Alexson John. Okay, so Alexson is my, he's the one, your senior. Okay, so, so one of your questions will be about this version detail, okay? At least as a case study of how they did it wrong, how the management was wrong, and it caused the factory to shut down. So what happened? Western Digital shut down, and then our neighbor factory, which is Sanmina, okay. So our neighbor factory is Sanmina, very successful company, American also. They were making multi-layer circuit boards up to 30 layers. Imagine that, 30 layers of circuit boards, and flexible also. They were number one. Sanmina has about 100 factories worldwide. So Kuching was just one of the 100 factories. And of all those factories, Kuching was number one in terms of quality. You know why? Kuching people know where to go. They work for them, they work 22 years for them. So their skill level is very high. In other places like Johor, Penang, Singapore, and most of China, big cities, they keep hopping. They get better opportunity, next factory, they go there. So then the knowledge is missing. But Kuching people have no other place to go, so they stay in the factory. Okay. So they were number one, but exactly the same thing happened. The workers and the boss were not friendly anymore. They started a union and they had a shutdown. And what I heard is later for the customers, the customer already mentioned they want from Kuching factory. They don't want any Sanmina product from any other factory. They want from the Kuching factory. So they made it in China and chopped made in Kuching. Eventually, customer found out. So you see, two huge factories in Kuching were destroyed by wrong management. Somehow engineers became too proud, and workers got angry. So 2 huge factories in Kuching were destroyed by that. Okay, so so the next factory, XFAB, is a German factory, was very scared. Will that sickness spread to them also? So they promoted one of very friendly guy. He was from my factory. Okay, they promote him to be big boss. So that's why the XFAB people now, they tell me, oh, they have the best connection. Boss and workers very happy. Okay, they're very friendly with each other. My factory was really bad, I tell you. Like I said in my video, you can watch. If you were that bad to workers in US, you'll be shocked, because in the US everyone has a gun. Okay, I remember one lady engineer was calling the worker, "Why get pregnant?" Wow, like that bad. Okay, so there's a lot of arrogance going on. Sometimes people with a bit of money, they feel they are on top of the world. It happens all over the world, not only for engineers who are rich. I mean, the super rich also, or worldwide super rich, like that. They feel they are superior people. The rest are all slaves for them. So this has been going on since the beginning of time, okay? Since the Roman time. Roman didn't do any work. They get slaves to do everything. So this is wrong attitude. Some people are so much poorer than you. Doesn't mean they are lower than you. Yeah, they just happen to have a bad economic situation. Like I'm helping a village. I just officially hand over the water supply to a village. That village people cannot really go far because they don't have water. They can't do anything productive. They grow vegetables also, they are scared because one dry season, all the vegetables will die. Okay, so without water, they can't really do much. So situation like that cause them to be, less able to achieve what other humans can do. I show you some pictures of I'm going there after this class. Basically, I already hand over to the village now. Let me see. Okay. Okay, this is the 2 floats. The incoming of the water system is HDPE pipe. It's just suspended below these 2 floats. Okay. Oh, that's me. This is the pump. Adjusting the pump. The pump is just by the river. And I put it on 2 floats. So if the water level rise, and the pump will go up. Okay. So that's how I tie the pump to the floats. Too hot to work with shirt. I don't know. Okay, here is my official handover of the system to the kampung. Okay. Okay, so today basically they were very happy. They said, "Wah, dapat air sebelum kawai." They said the river is clean because the river is from uphill, and it goes down to the Balaringin River. Okay, so they can use the water. But right now the water is only at the pump house. So today I'm going to give them lot of pipes so that they can connect themselves. Not I connect them, connect themselves to individual homes. Very expensive, all the things I bought to let them connect themselves. Wow, I think 2,000 ringgit. I just planned this yesterday and today. Just all the pipes and all the fittings to let them connect themselves to the individual homes. Okay, that's an auto trend starter. That means because very high power motor, if you just give it energy suddenly, you damage the coil. So you need a starter like this to give it power slow. I mean, basically half the power before the full power. Okay. Basically, you're reducing the voltage to half before the full voltage now. This filter, the company that sold us a tank gave this free. I don't think I'm going to connect because our pumps, we got a 4 horsepower from the river pumping to the tank, and then 1 horsepower from the tank to the village home. But if we put filter, I feel the pressure will go down too much. Unless I see first life got enough money, maybe I will buy a bigger pump or pushing the water from the farmhouse to all the homes. Okay, I think for now on we keep this aside. Okay. So that'll be one topic. For example, how Western Digital died. Okay, I said they died, right? But they are back in Kuching now. Because when Western Digital died, Hitachi bought them over in Kuching, and then Western Digital bought the whole Hitachi hard disk division. Okay, so that's why it's only these 3 right now in the market of hard disk. Okay, only these 3. There's no Hitachi there. Okay, because Hitachi hard disk division is part of Western Digital now. Okay, so so it's 90% between Western Digital and CK and only 10% Toshiba. Okay. And basically, it's just Western Digital. So basically, you can see how a company like IBM, who invented the hard disk, were champion when I first joined, way above everyone else. They made one mistake of moving from metal to glass, and they died. Okay, and then my own factory was core Mac before Western Digital bought over, and that was also because of a research leader mistake. Okay, I think I told you a story before, but so researchers play a very critical role in high-tech factories now. They can make or break a factory. Okay, so basically a clear mind lah. You use common sense, have a clear mind, do the right things. I think it's a bit spiritual also. I mean, you do something totally illogical, like calling the workers for getting pregnant. Those are totally illogical stuff. Those kind of things, we have retribution, I believe. Okay. So you have a clear mind, do simple, do the right things. 2 + 2 is 4, it cannot be 5. And do simple things like that correctly, and then your factory will run properly. You do illogical things, it's very obviously wrong. 2 + 2 cannot be 5. Something is wrong there. And you can see it in the factory, it's very obvious. For us working in the factory, we can see what is very obviously wrong. Okay. So you correct all those things that are very obviously wrong, then things will work right. Okay. Okay, so 2 questions definitely come on the exam. One is how WD died, and how it should have been run so they don't die. Okay. Now tell the story a bit lah. Okay, that's one question. Then how ultrasonic sensors have changed the whole industry. Basically, every industry needs flow sensors, and this one sensor has basically changed the whole landscape of industry. Okay. Okay, let me see. That's okay. So Sarawak electric system is definitely very important. And then next thing about factory. Okay. Now most of you end up working in factories anyway. A few end up just going on, but I think majority of you will be working in factories. And of course, BM, IEM rules, ethics. Okay, ethics are super important lah. Okay, definitely get one big question on ethics lah. Okay. So what's happening in ethics is you just don't do bad stuff lah. Okay. If you look at the BM rules, you know that most of the rules are basically to ensure that you have ethics. Okay. Ethics means, okay, like wires. Okay, what are the problem, ethical problem, especially wires. Wires nowadays, that one also I gave you in the speech. So you really need to go through the video I sent you. That one I talk a lot about the wires, how they cheat in wires now. Okay. Basically, what they're doing is copper wires, they're mixing with iron. But even worse is aluminum wires, they're coating it with copper. That's even worse. Okay, because aluminum is actually a very bad material for electrical transmission. They use it only because the price has gone down. Okay, because aluminum is brittle. Okay, when you got a wire and you crack a bit. Okay. So you have aluminum wire, you bend it a bit too much, it will crack. When it cracks, there'll be micro arcing through this point. It'll be arcing through this point. Okay? And aluminum melts at 660 degrees centigrade. Okay? Aluminum melts at 660 degrees centigrade. Copper is about 1000. Okay? Copper, you bend also no problem. It will not break, it's not brittle like aluminum. Okay? So there's no problem in bending copper. And aluminum will break because it's brittle, and it burns at 660, about half the temperature of copper. So that's why, and then some more, when you join two aluminum, they'll have oxide in between. Okay? Aluminum oxide forms in microseconds. Copper oxide, sometimes 53 years, like my father's house in Kuching. You strip it, it's still shining like gold. That means it's pure copper in those days. It's shining like gold. Okay? After 53 years, it's still shining like gold. That means it haven't corroded. Because copper has a lot of colors. Okay? Let me show you copper colors. Oh, here. So these are the colors of copper. See? This, and then it turned orange. When you see orange, you know it's the first level of corrosion. And it turns all these colors and finally it becomes black. After black, sulfur gets in and then it turns green. So final color is green. You can see from this one. Okay, this is the Statue of Liberty in USA. It was copper color in the beginning and then it slowly turned black. After black, it slowly turned green. So now it's green. Okay. So copper has a lot of colors. So the meaning of my father's house fire is still golden after 53 years. That means they haven't corroded. Okay. Aluminum's corrosion is white color, and it happens in microseconds. So you see a lot of white color, that means it's a lot of corrosion on aluminum. And why is corrosion bad? Okay. Aluminum oxide, O2, I think. CuO2. O2O3, sorry. CuO. Okay. Okay. So this is aluminum oxide. There's a formula. And copper oxide. Okay. All oxides of metals are insulators. Remember that. Any oxide of metals are conductors because they're free electron. Okay, because metal atoms like to throw away 1 electron or 2 electron. Aluminum like to throw away 3. Okay, but their oxides are all insulators. Some of the best insulators are the metal oxides. Okay, they use in industry like magnesium oxide. You know, when you cut your computer cable, the power cable for your computer, you see some white flow coming out. Okay, like the pong. That's aluminum oxide. Okay. Okay. So what happens when you join 2 wires with oxide in between? Sometimes the oxide layer is so thin, so it still tries to conduct, but it's arcing, it's jumping. Whenever electric jump, it's like lightning. It's very powerful. It's just like lighting a lighter, but this is a super high power lighter. So it will melt the material, and that causes fire. So most of electrical fires are caused by this corrosion. Or not tightening properly is another issue. Okay, you don't tighten your screws properly, that causes all these problems. That's why, for me, I need a screwdriver this long. I'm looking for something even longer. I haven't found it yet, but I know it's available in the market. My factory has my technician. He bought, I think 1 whole meter long screwdriver. The longer the screwdriver, the more torque you can get. Okay, so you prevent the space that arcing can happen. Okay. So for me, when I do wiring, I use my whole body strength to tighten the screws, especially big wire. Small wire, you don't feel much. Like, the normal house wire, 2.5, okay. But when you get to 16 mm square, wow, I normally have to use my whole body to turn the screw. Unless I have a very long screwdriver, then much easier. Okay. But remember, the final turn of screws must be the flat, the minus. You go plus and minus, Phillips and flat. You always use the flat for the final turn. You just can't get torque if you use Phillips. Okay. In industry, they just call it plus minus. Easy. Okay, give me the plus screwdriver. Give me the minus screwdriver. Okay. So that's why wiring looks simple. It's not like, tukang cement, they have to use all the energy to mix the cement. It looks like very heavy duty work. Wiring looks like just joining wires, but it's not simple joining wires. You have to use your whole body strength to turn the screws. Okay, if you don't do that, you have loose connections and it start fires. Okay, because it's not really touching properly. There's a small gap in between. There'll be arcing, and arcing eventually starts fires because it'll be more than the melting point of copper. Okay, copper is about 1,000, and then it starts fire. Okay, and show you the melting points. Okay. So these are important things. You need to take a screenshot of this. Yeah, there's a lot of information here. So say copper is 1083. The oxide is 1200. You see, when I first started as an engineer, hardware engineer, I see the black color oxidized copper because my machine that I was in charge of was a wet machine, a lot of water. So it really turned into black. And then you cannot solder. You try to solder two black wires, it just don't solder. So I thought, okay, put the soldering iron long time there, maybe the oxide will burn off. It's impossible. Why is it impossible? The oxide have to melt at higher temperature than the copper itself. That means if the black color can evaporate, the metal is long gone already. Okay, understand? Okay, so it's impossible to get rid of the black using heat. The only way is using a sandpaper, or for me, 100% a file. Because sandpaper, you use sandpaper, you put a wire, okay? You put a wire on your finger, and then you have sandpaper your finger, okay? But a file, you can control it better. Okay, you can control a file better. Okay, so a standard tool for all electricians is a file. Okay, make sure you bring a file anytime you want to do an electrical job. Okay, this example, this is a Unimas motor. This motor was not running for like 4 years. The whole mechanical engineering department look at it, cannot get it working. So finally, they asked me, can you help? So I look at it. I just go and put it on the table and use a pen knife and strap it. Start working. Wow, the whole department, all the lecturers, you got that motor working? Wow, big hero. For 4 years, I've been trying to get it working because it's part of a big machine. Okay. So it was a very surprising thing for them. All I did was just, you see, I stripped some more. I stripped some more. It's black inside. All the way is black. Okay. Inside is also black. So only when I put it on the table and scrape it, then it works. Okay. This is one of the biggest issue in electrical. Okay. Because they strip so little, so they end up screwing on the plastic. So it's touching the copper a little bit only. Because the high current going through such a small point, that point will get corroded. Okay. So eventually there will be no connection. According to the senior electricians who I know, like 20, 30 years working in the field, they told me this is the biggest problem in Sarawak. Okay, screwing on the plastic. Why is this? I think the root cause is, sorry to say, CESCO training school. But when you take the Wyman exam, I don't know about now, but at least last time, because last time you can take Wyman only in CESCO. So they look at, can see copper, deduct 2 marks. And we got a lot of connection in our Wyman practical exam, we got a lot of connection to do. Each of them deduct 2 marks, we can fail. Okay. So everyone, very stingy to strip it as little as possible. Yeah. So that's the root cause of this one. Okay. Okay, so so the ethics is in wiring. There's a lot of issues. You can look through the video I sent you, the safety video that I emailed you last few days. That is all about how they cheat in electrical wiring. Okay. Using aluminum cables instead of copper is one of the ways to cheat. Cisco at one time agreed to aluminum because the wires are getting so terribly expensive. So Cisco said, okay, never mind, use aluminum. And that means from the service line, from the pole to your home is called service line. Okay. And then from your home pole going to your DB is called mains line. Okay, remember that, huh? So remember this. For the rest of your life, you need to know this. Okay. So service line is from the Cisco pole going to your home. From your home going to the main wire from your home going to your DB. Okay. Going to your DB. DB is distribution board. That is called mains line. Okay. We need to know all these terms. Next time you work in electrical, you must know all these terms. You cannot use the wrong word. They get angry with you. You go to contractor, use the wrong word. They get angry with you. Okay. So what do you don't know anything? I've seen that. If you use the wrong word, they feel you don't know anything. Okay. Okay. So for your exams, ethics, especially how they cheat in electrical wiring, they mix iron in the copper. That's why the copper looks a bit black nowadays, even if you buy new. Okay. And then aluminum cable, they just plate it with copper. Okay. And then the other two important things is how WD died. Okay, what mistakes they made to cause it to die. And you talk about all the ego, people started getting ego, all you have mentioned. Okay. Wealth tend to make people egoistic. Egoistic in the sense that what I'm saying is that they feel they are better than the rest who are not as rich as them. I mean, their gaji is, their salary is much lower for a normal worker in a factory, and they are so much higher. Say okay lah, put it this way. Their salary is 15,000 per month. The worker salary basic is only 1,000 per month. That difference in salary will cause that engineer to feel superior to the worker. Actually, they're probably the same in knowledge. Sometimes they're probably the worker is even better than the engineer. Okay, but because of the difference in salary, that engineer feels he's a superior human being. That happens a lot. Okay, they feel that, and just because the salary is high, they are a better human being. But I've seen a lot of cases where the guy who's getting 1,000 is actually smarter than in that field I'm talking about. In that field of that machine in the factory, he is much better than an engineer who's getting 16,000 or something like that. Okay. And so that tends to breed egoism. You must mention that in your exam. Okay. The huge difference in salary tend to breed egoism. And I'm talking about some of the people, you're not talking about 16,000, I'm talking about 30,000, 40,000. In oil and gas is crazy. I got 3 FIP whose parents are in oil and gas, 200,000 per month. 150,000 a month. Imagine you are an engineer getting 150,000 a month, and then the workers getting this. It won't be as low as 1,000, I guess. But that breeds egoism, that you are a superior human being, you can get that much salary. Okay, and that is a root cause of Western digital to die. Okay. And I found out, because I'm already 57. Frankly, tell you, even professor, they have big name, big salary. Sometimes they know less than a normal worker. Frankly, seriously, I've seen things that a worker can get repaid, the professor cannot get repaid. So there's some imbalance in how we are worth in the market. Okay, sometimes it's just your race that make you get the crazy amount of salary, like 200,000. Okay, sometimes your friend is a boss, so you get those kind of salaries. Okay, I know one guy. He's a technician, but he's very good in English. He became a very big boss in oil and gas. He was from my factory. The other guy is much better than him, but he became a boss because he can speak English very well. Okay, so oil and gas is international oil and gas, and it's super high salary now. Okay, just because his English is very fluent. Okay. So English is very important. It's become a world language. I don't say it's English, England people's language or American people's language. It's become an international language. Everywhere in the world. You go to Europe, I heard everyone in Europe speaks English. It's a German guy telling me this. I met a German guy in Miri. So 100% of Germans speak English. Okay, so pretty much most of the world, South America, India, definitely not. There's 1.3 billion English-speaking people there. At least English understanding, okay, not speaking. They can understand English. Okay. So what I'm saying is how the story of how Western digital died is basically egoism. Okay, egoism among the bosses. Okay. Next class. This is week 1. Yes, what week is this? Check that. Oh, okay. Okay, this is week 5, 6, 7. Okay. Okay, so next week. So this week's class, you practically have to go through two days what I'm saying plus the email I sent you. Okay. So it is one question in exam. Okay. It is basically about WT and how it failed, how wrong management caused it to fail. It caused the same thing caused the neighbor factory seminar to fail. Okay, so there'll be one question of your exam: how egoism caused the factory to fail. Okay, and how you cannot do such attitudes in high tech because the workers can just sabotage you. And they will sabotage you directly, they will sabotage the whole factory, okay, with their wrong actions because they're angry. Okay. Even in the old days, when I was working before university, I was building Kuching Port, and he was a French contractor. French tend to be racist, much more racist than the English. I don't know why, but so the contractor was French, and then they were treating the workers exactly like slaves. And I remember one Iban guy telling me, "I'm going to sumpah this guy, sumpah the Frenchman." He actually worked. He got pimples. Pimples are going so big pimples like that. They went to Singapore, cannot get cured. Finally went to France and died. It's only about 30 something. So yeah, so people can sabotage even in the old days. But now it's easier. They don't have to do all this sumpah, all this. They can just throw salt in your chemical tank. Okay. So more and more as things get more and more high tech, you're practically using the intelligence of every worker. And you want to use the intelligence of every worker, you need to treat him very well. Okay. So that's the basic idea. Okay. So remember the last few classes, a long time we're talking about the Cisco electric system. So that'll be one big question, or maybe even two. And then this class plus the email I send you will be about Western Digital and how it failed due to wrong management. Okay. How, also a bit about ethics. Okay. Okay, ethics I'll cover next class more on ethics, basically all the BM and IM rules. Okay, so you can put it this way one big question will be the power system, which is the first few classes, power system Sarawak, and then the email I send you plus today's class will be about Western Digital and how it failed. Okay, and next class will be another big question, which is IM and BM rules. Actually, BM and IM. Okay, because BM is the government, IM is the private body. Okay. Okay, so let's end the class. I'm going to Kampong after this. See you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.